Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Budi Santoso. I'm from class A on English literature. And I'm here today. I'm gonna talk about my presentation, which is the story of language. The topic that we're gonna present is the English language, the Old English, the Middle English, the early modern English, and the Renaissance, and the last one is the modern English. The English language. The English language is a West Germanic language that belongs to the Indo-European language family. It originates in early medieval England, and it is the most widely spoken language in the world. English is the official language of many countries, including the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, India, and the Philippines. It is also widely spoken as a second language and is either the official language or one of the official languages in 59 sovereign states. And then is the Old English. The Old English, also known as the Anglo-Saxons, is the earliest recorded form of the English language spoken in England and southern and eastern Scotland. In the early Middle Age, it developed from the language brought to Great Britain by Anglo-Saxon settlers in the mid-5th century and the first Old English developed from a set of Anglo-Frisian or Slavonic dialect originally spoken by Germanic tribes and traditionally known as the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. As the Germanic settler became dominant in England, their language replaced the language of Roman Britain. Common Britain, a Celtic language, and Latin brought to Britain by the Roman invasions. Old English had four main dialects associated with particular Anglo-Saxon kingdom, like Mercian, Northumbrian, Kentish, and West Saxons. After the Old English, there is the Middle English. Middle English is a form of the English language that was spoken after the Norman conquest at 1066 until the late 15th century. The English language underwent distinct variation and developments following the Old English period. The story of Middle English is often divided into three periods, which is Early Middle English, Central Middle English, and Late Middle English. The Early Middle English. This period has a largely Anglo-Saxon vocabulary but a greatly simplified inflectional system in grammatical relations that were expressed in Old English by the dative and instrumental cases were replaced in early Middle English with prepositional constructions. And then is Central Middle English. This period was marked by the gradual formation of literary dialect, the use of an orthography greatly influenced by the Anglo-Norman writing system, the loss of pronunciation of final sentence, and the borrowing of large number of Anglo-Norman words. The period was especially marked by the rise of the London dialect in the London of in the hands of such writers as John Gower and Geoffrey Chaucer. And the last period time in Middle English is the Late Middle English. This period was marked by the split of the London literary dialect and the gradual cleavage between the Scottish dialect and the other northern dialect. During the period, the basic lines of inflections as they appear in modern English were first established. Middle English was characterized by a reduction of the number of inflection and grammatical rules. The language was heavily influenced by Latin, Greek, and French, as well as by the Celtic language spoken in Britain before the arrival of Germanic tribes. And Middle English texts include works such as the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, Sir Gawain and the Green Knights, and Piers Plowman. And then the early modern English and the Renaissance. The early modern English period is said to span roughly the years from 15 until 18. This period is often referred to as the Renaissance, which roughly covers the 16th and the early 17th century. The English Renaissance is associated with the cultural and artistic movement in England dating from the late 15th to the early 17th century. The English Renaissance saw an increase in the number of Greek and Latin words incorporated into English. And in this period, there is a great vowel shift which occurred during the 15th and 16th centuries, was a major change in the pronunciation of the English language. Although difficult, early modern English is intelligible to English speakers today. The English Renaissance saw the rise of the London dialect in the hands of such writers as John Gower and Geoffrey Chaucer. The next wave of innovation in English vocabulary came with the revival of classical scholarship known as the Renaissance. The English Renaissance is often referred to as the established era or the age of Shakespeare, after the most important monarch and most famous writer of the period. After the early modern English and the Renaissance, there is the modern English period. The modern English period is conventionally defined as the English language since about 1450 or 1500. Modern English evolved from early modern English, which was used from the beginning of the Tudor period until the Interregnum and Restoration in England. By the late 18th century, the British Empire had facilitated the spread of modern English through its colonies and geopolitical dominance, commerce, science, and technology, diplomacy, and art and formal education all contribute to English becoming the first truly global language to rise of the British empires. Also had a significant impact in the English language. And after that, English became the language of commerce, science, and political, and was spread around the world by British colonies. This led to the development of many different varieties of English, known as dialect. Modern English is analyzed, whereas Proto-Indo-Europeans, the ancestral tongue of most of the modern European language, was scientific or inflected during the course of thousands of years. English words have been slowly simplified from the inflected variable form found in Sanskrit, Greek, Latin, Russian, and German towards invariable forms as in Chinese and Vietnamese. As a conclusion, English has a rich and complex history that can be divided into several periods. The Old English period was characterized by the use of complex grammatical and inflectional systems, and the Middle English period saw the influence of French on England on English, which simplified vocabulary and grammar. The, the early modern English period saw the development of a standard form of English used for official document and literature. This period also saw the rise of William Shakespeare, considered the greatest writers in the English language, and finally, the modern English period is characterized by the expansion of English as a global language with the development of new vocabulary and the influence of technology and dialect.